Seldom align on anything, Democrats and Republicans agree on that the CCP be held responsible for the virus damage, according to two vastly different polls.
Fighting for voting law goes on in Texas, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. CCP's atrocity against religion is highlighted by the Religious Freedom Summit.
Welcome to Wei and Kathy Show. I'm your host, Wei.
And I'm Kathy.
Okay, good to see you again. So let's start the first news, which has to do with the two very, very different polls.
Exactly. So the Center for Security Policy and the TIPP published a poll on July 13th showing that the nearly two-thirds of Americans believe that the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, should pay reparations for the destruction caused by the COVID-19 or the CCP virus pandemic. And the experts commented that this reflects something which we will share before and what that mean. So the poll shows that 63% of Americans demand reparations from the Chinese Communist government. And if it is a fact that the CCP regime deliberately spread the virus, then this number increased to 78%. Even if the CCP unintentionally or accidentally released the virus, 71% of Republicans, 61% of Democrats, and 61% of independents believe that the CCP must pay reparations. And in terms of regional distribution, it's natural that the Southerners and the Midwesterners are most likely believe that the Chinese Communist government has created a virus and is responsible for spreading the virus. But actually, the poll shows that if the virus is accidentally released from a Chinese lab, the Northeasters are the toughest when it comes to asking the CCP to pay reparations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this poll found that those who did not support reparations, actually, except for the youngest group from 18 to 24 years old, among other age groups who are uncertain about this, are much higher than those who oppose reparations, which means, people are just uncertain, even though they did not show the support. So interestingly, this we know CSP, the Center for Security Policy, is conservative leaning, and their poll result generally actually coincide with the result of a left liberal leaning poll result. So
which is a Politico and Harvard. According to this poll on the left side, 52% of the public believe that the virus that causes the COVID-19 came from a laboratory leak in China. Okay, while on the poll on the right hand side is 49%. Okay, and then 59% of the Republican and 52% of the Democrat and 47% of independent said the virus came from a Chinese lab. Well, this is in comparison to the other poll, which is 67, 42, and 52. So basically, the number is not exactly the same, but the distribution is the same.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And basically, so what was once a fringe belief held mainly among those, some of the, political right has now become accepted by most Republicans and most Democrats. All right? And so in the meantime, this is the political side, yeah. And Harvard professor Robert Blanton said more conservative media have been carrying the lab leak issue, and it has been a Trump talking point from the beginning. So we expect people who lean Democratic will say either it is not true or I don't know, but the belief is bipartisan. So basically, yeah, and also in terms of the funding, finding on the Southerners and Midwesterners versus the Northwest, both poll just draw the same conclusion.
Right, and even like we all know, from the poll, we show that the different age group, the numbers are different. Obviously, actually, the older age, the more people believes that the CCP should be responsible and pay reparations. But even the youngest group, 18 to 24 years old, at least 50% also have the same belief.
Mm-hmm.
So the senior analyst with the Center for Security Policy, Michael Waller, said that this discovery is very important. One thing is that the Politico Harvard is a very liberal organization, and their poll shows that the American people strongly agree with, the conservatives' poll, which is from the Center for Security Policy's view, because this center, in the early days of the pandemic, they already believed that the virus was leaked from Wuhan lab, and they have been called, they put out a decision report in actually last April. It's very early, right? And saying that the Americans should ask for reparations from the Chinese Communist government. And he believes that the polls has some significance, which one is reparations for personal loss of American taxpayers and the citizens, and he believes that this would start the process of overthrowing the Chinese Communist government. So, wait, what do you think?
Yeah, it's I think it's indeed the virus. Now it was initially, it seems to be aiding the CCP in terms of strengthening it, and then as time goes by, not just the U.S. I think this phenomenon that we're looking at is all over the world. Okay, especially in the democratic nations. Okay, the public sentiment will be very similar to what we just found here through these two polls, right?
Mm-hmm. And if only people demand. Right?
Yeah.
So if Americans or people around the globe just say, okay, let's just endure it, just let them go, then how the CCP would feel about that, and they feel, oh, you are weak.
Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, on the other side, right, on the CCP side, since the beginning, it has been trying to shirk the blame. Even saying that it's U.S. military caused that. This is really typical of just CCP's action. When something like this happen, they do not have any sincerity in finding out what is the truth. Mm-hmm. They basically try to say either you dominated me or I dominated you. In Chinese, we call it this is Mao Zedong, Chairman Mao's famous quote: 不是东风压倒西风，就是西风压倒东风. Whether it's East Wing, win over West Wing, or Western Wing, win over East Wing. This is what they care about. They only care about the result. They never care about what is the fact, what is the truth. Is there any basic commonality here, common ground? There is, right? So indeed, where does the virus come from? They have no interest in that, okay? Their rhetoric is just, I blame you stronger than you blame me. So this is indeed, if such a regime, their power extend over the border of China into United States, into all over the world, we will know what kind of life we will have. You may not know, I know, I will know. So that's why we're here. So in the meantime, I think on a similar note, later we'll talk about that, just on the International Religious Freedom Summit, Blinken was there, and Pompeo was there, and Brownback, which is Republican, the religious ambassador was there, and then Nancy Pelosi was there. So both parties are there, and then they just united on the same thing. CCP, you are evil regime, and we don't agree with you.
Yeah, and no matter how people, probably don't like one of the sides, but this is one point, is that CCP is the enemy of the American people,
right,
which was people showing that.
Yeah, among all the, disagreement and conflict, and cultural clash, and so on and so forth, I think one silver lining is indeed Americans don't like CCP. Also, so that Chinese people don't like CCP too, either, yeah. So even that would,
Yeah, but what does that mean to Chinese people, especially those who were under persecution? Actually, this means a lot, which we will share with you a bit later in this episode.
Yeah, so we'll move to talk about religious freedom summit a bit later. Now let's take a look of what's happening on the voting side. Okay, the voting law, the state has been the different state, like especially the Republican states, state legislatures has been passing voting laws to close up loopholes and then strengthen the rules. In the meantime, we know at the federal level, the Democrats-controlled Congress is trying to pass the For the People Act, which is the House Resolution number 1, and which was then, if you recall, that did not succeed and was kind of failed to reach the closure on the June 22nd. All right. So now what do you see? So one drama that is unfolding is the legislatures from the Texas House, and then they run out of Austin and went to D.C.
Right.
Because they think in that way that you don't have the required quorum. You have no way to cast a vote.
They need a quorum.
And then, I'm sorry, quorum, yeah. Then you won't be able to cast a vote. And then, of course, as we all know, that Texas House will be able to pass that law eventually. So actually, they are running away, the exodus, which turned them into a fugitive now. It become a national drama. It is for the House Resolution number 1. House Resolution 1, which sort of like already failed, okay? But when those legislatures went to D.C. and they went around, they tried to raise the issue, saying that see how much Texas has been doing, and so the Congress the Senate should abolish filibuster and pass this House Resolution 1. And
so that's their purpose.
Yeah, that's the real purpose. If you I don't know whether you agree with me. If you don't, just type it there. So what is happening, in how to say, to those Texas legislatures is not about Texas. It's about For the People Act or the House Resolution 1. Okay, they don't want that to fail. They still want to push it.
Yeah, but one thing is that I think it's kind of puzzling, but people may, we probably could still know the answer. But supposedly the Constitution already granted the final responsibility or the authority of conducting the voting is to give it to the state legislatures. But then why they go to federal?
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. That depends on how you interpret the Constitution. The Constitution indeed gave the authority of conducting voting elections to the state. However, in the Constitution, they also add one sentence saying that the Congress has the right to alter and modify and make change to those voting laws. So it's actually, as we talk, I think we talked about this before, a constitutional expert saying that that's really only to cover some marginal areas in a special situation. But that can also be interpreted as Congress really just have the authority to just modify anything. So this fight have to go to the Supreme Court. But it has not gone there, okay? The fight is happening in the Congress, especially in the Senate, because the House already passed it. So the Senate, you got two Democratic centralist senator. One is the Manchin, right?
Joe Manchin.
Joe Manchin, and from West Virginia. The other is the Seldem from the Arizona. Okay, they don't think it's right to abolish these filibuster. So because of that, the Democrat cannot break this filibuster, so they cannot push through this bill in the Senate. So it just failed halfway. Now the drama, as you can see, if you watch the news, okay, the Texas fugitive legislatures really it ran into a very warm welcome of the President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay, they really just work with them and they're going to invite them to the White House. Basically, they try to re-highlight the issue and revitalize the House Resolution 1.
So probably the two the two Democratic senators would have some heat, right?
Yeah,
Get
basically,
some
yeah.
heat.
If I put on my commentator's hat, so basically they try to say, see how much they have done. They have really gone to the extreme. The Texans, and so you have to counterattack. So to do that, let's just abolish the filibuster. So that's basically the goal they try to achieve.
Yeah.
Although the media has not quite reported about that, that's essentially what the game is about.
Yeah, but the history, they already had the lesson, right? The Democrats, they abolished something. Actually, it came back to bite them.
Yeah.
So it's always like, you don't just, if you don't follow the Constitution or the laws, you think you take advantage, but the next time you could be on the other side.
Yeah.
So the best way is really try to, need to really follow the Constitution and the original laws which, really try to be fair, right?
Okay. Yeah, now let's talk about a little bit about what happened in Philadelphia. President Joe Biden on Tuesday went to Philadelphia and then lay out his plan to protect, the report says, this is NBC report, okay, quote, protect Americans' voting rights in the face of Republican-led efforts around the country to change voting rules. And Biden, he was speaking from the National Constitutional Center, so Constitution Center in Philadelphia. He said he will outline his administration's efforts to protect voting laws and call on Congress to pass legislation that defend this, quote, sacred constitutional right to vote. So basically, he's talking about the H.R. 1, okay, the bill that I'm talking about. So he's trying to lend more energy to revive, and yeah, that's a more accurate word, to revive that failed bill. Well, how does President Trump see this? This is his comment. Let me just read it to you. It's very from a vastly different point of view. And President Trump said, he said this. He said, why are they so concerned that a president who never goes anywhere will hop on beautiful Air Force One and head to Philadelphia if it were an honest election? Why not let the audit go forward and make everybody on both sides happy? The result will be the result. Okay, so basically, that is President Trump's statement. He said Joe Biden is going to Philadelphia today in a rush in order to stop the forensic audit that the Pennsylvania Republican Senate is in the process of doing. So these are two different point of view. But apparently, according to President Trump, Biden went there to try to stop the forensic audit that has been happening, in the Senate.
Yeah, I think actually since the Arizona forensic audit started,
Yeah.
Georgia legislatures are probably I believe they have the first delegation to visit Arizona, Maricopa County audit. And they try to do the same thing, and followed by some other states. Legislatures did the same thing. So quite a few states, they are starting to trying to do the same forensic audit as Arizona did.
Yeah, this is also from President Trump's statement today. He said, not today, yesterday. According to the just released report from the highly respected voter GA, the F1 just showed that's just a nonprofit organization that was established recently on the for the purpose of the audit. It's called a voter GA, basically, voter Georgia. In Fulton County, the hand count was wrong by 60%. All right. Trump's statement went on and said 100,000 tally sheets for ballots were missing. They duplicated thousands of extra votes for Joe Biden and fabricated vote counts of 100-0 for Biden many times. And Trump went on and said ballot batch sheets fraudulently showed multiple unanimous 100-0 counts for Biden, as well as 150-0 and 200-0. Are we now in the third world country? What else will they find once the full forensic audit happens? So yeah, so basically that's the Trump statement, and And this, so basically, yeah, the election is over, but the counting has not. At least the audit for the counting has not.
Right.
All right, let's move on to the third topic, which is in Washington, D.C. today, there's this International Religious Freedom Summit that happened over there.
Right. So first of all, I wanted to, just listen to a short clip of a video on this conference, C1.
I was forced to suspend my schooling twice and give up my doctorate degree due to this wide-scale persecution. For nearly a decade, I was jailed and brutally tortured in prison by CCP authorities in Tianjin. I was sentenced at age 29 and lost my 30s due to the crackdown on religion. I still cannot forget the face of my close friend, who stood up and threatened me. If you keep your belief in Falun Gong, I will stab you to death. I was very astonished at that time. I had no idea that propaganda could change a person in such a dramatic way.
Yeah, so this is a speech by this gentleman called Wei Yu Wang. He's now a software engineer in Michigan, but he graduated from a very prestigious university in Beijing, Tsinghua University. But because of his belief in Falun Gong, he was thrown to jail for 8 years, and has been persecuted. He and his family has been persecuted for 14 years. So that's only just one of the millions of Falun Gong practitioners being persecuted by the Chinese Communist government for 22 years now. So the issue of Falun Gong practitioners' human rights being abused, and as well as others like the Uyghurs, the Christians in China, this issue has been highlighted by at the International Religious Freedom Summit, which is holding on right now in Washington, D.C. between July 13th to the 15th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really applaud this, this summit, which is attended and supported by, by officials from both parties. And then actually earlier today, I was in my Chinese show, I was talking about what Mike Pompeo said. He said, just as foreseen by our founding fathers, religious freedom is fundamental. Once it's deprived, the tyranny will find the opportunity to come in and take hold. So that's indeed true. To Chinese people, as in the summit, there's a story, live witness story, which is about a Uyghur woman who was locked up there, and she and the other girl in a cell was dragged out and raped by multiple police, and they do that arbitrarily. So what I want to say is this: okay, in China, really, China was a nation that has very strong belief in Buddhism, in Taoism, and in the Confucianism, all right, and then later in underground church too. So it is deeply rooted in personal belief and then in religion. But the CCP completely destroyed that. Once they destroy that, that's two consequences. Okay, first, of course, the regime really find no boundary. They just commit crime, without worrying anything about the retribution. That's the first thing. The second, those basic level, those policemen, right? They really have no belief, and they have no religion, and that's why they did all those, raping, women just in a jail, and without worrying about anything about retribution, because they're atheist. They don't see any consequence to that. As long as I have power in my hand, I can do whatever I want. So this is the most damage that the CCP did to China, and actually back then the CCP did to to Russia. Okay, wherever CCP, communist goes, they destroy the true belief.
Yeah, and actually, people like Mr. Wang, who just testified at the summit, and their strong belief of a ancient mind-body spiritual practice called the Falun Gong is probably why it has been persecuted for 22 years. Like, in China, is for the people like Wang Weiyu, at his age, those kind of people, they already always been brainwashed by the Chinese Communist government. There's no God, there's no higher beings. But why they are able to, hold on to the practice of Falun Gong actually really scares the Communist Party, right? So yeah, actually Wang explained why he practiced Falun Gong as he was just starting to pursue his PhD in university, so Z2.
When I saw the book of Falun Gong, I immediately picked it up. The book's contents discuss the moral principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, an idea so attractive that I could not help but finish reading it in a few hours. I deeply realized that this is what I want. This is how people should live. To be a good person is determined by human nature inside. And to deviate from this principle is actually to betray one's own soul.
So as a young man, he said that he was sentenced by the CCP at the age of 29, so 8 years. The good part of his 30s was gone.
Best time of his life, basically.
Right. But he hold on to his belief, and it must be something, right, in it. And he said actually how to, he actually, during his jail time and even after he was released, he was still under severe house arrest. But he said he actually realized the true nature of the Chinese Communist government and, how, to stop this persecution. So Z3.
I want to make it clear that the Chinese Communist Party is not just persecuting Falun Gong practitioners or Chinese people. All the democratic countries, especially the United States, have been on their agenda for many decades. Economic profit is just their lure. We have no other options but to wake up now. By the way, one of the wardens told me, "Tell your friends overseas, don't write letters to me again." And through the endless years of oppression under the party, I finally realized that they are afraid of something after all, voices of justice. So your voice really matters. Darkness is always afraid of being exposed to the light. Thank you.
Yeah, so let me explain a little bit. He's talking about he's in the jail, right? And then in a cell, and those wardens was very cruel with them,
right,
and torture them. And then somehow he managed to gather this information about he's in this labor camp or jail to outside world. And then people outside world write letter. Basically, they just wrote a letter to those wardens with clearly name such as such. You are the warden, and we know what you do, and stop it. That simple letter was hugely powerful. Okay, oftentimes, it just stopped the brutality there. The reason is the warden thought they did this without anybody knowing them, because they know they broke the law. They just they broke any bottom line. Once they don't feel proud of it. They feel very scared about it if they were caught in the future. So the only reason that they can carry on that kind of brutality is because they think they can get away from it. But once somebody in America wrote a letter to this guy and saying that I know your name and I know what you did, they were really scared.
Right.
Yeah, so they stopped. So simple letter. This is the power of the truth, right? The truth, how powerful that is. It will intimidate and it will restrain bad people.
Yeah, and also on the conference, they showed a video showing that at the time of the Chinese Communist Party's leap in organ transplanting actually coincides with the time of the CCP's persecution of Falun Gong. So it really tells something. And the former commissioners of United States Commission on the International Religious Freedom, USCIRF, who is also the president of Congress of Christian Leaders, Johnny Moore. He was one of the panelists. And actually, he was recently in the news because he was among the officials, the former Trump administration officials sanctioned by the CCP government, do not allow them to go visit China. And
he viewed that as a medal.
right, so let's see how he views it. Z7.
They're trying to divide America on these issues. This is what they're trying to do. And so on the day of the inauguration of President Biden, they sanctioned a whole series of Trump administration officials. It is no coincidence they sanctioned a prominent evangelical. You know, I think this is part of their attempt to divide American society. And what they found is the exact opposite. I mean, because American Democrats and Republicans, is you clearly can see if you live in this country and if you watch CNN, if you're abroad, they don't get along on much of anything. But what they've ended up doing, which by the way is our strength, the strength of our public square, we can argue back and forth and come up to solutions together. But what they ended up doing is by sanctioning me and a lot of other people like me, they brought Democrats and Republicans together on the issue. It was a terrible, terrible miscalculation. But this is a point of communism. Okay, I think the Chinese Communist Party is way too overconfident, and one of the things that they recognize about the United States of America is we want to be their friends. We want to have a great relationship with China, but we also know how weak that they are, and it is a sign of weakness when they take an action like this. But far more than that, what we are seeing is we're seeing a relapse to the Cultural Revolution.
So he believes that the persecution of Falun Gong and Uyghurs, it's like a relapse of a cultural revolution. So he had a strong stand on the organ harvesting by the CCP. Z8.
Unfortunately, the trajectory is not good for anyone. It's not good for our world. And just imagine, while we're here right now, someone is being killed so that their organs can be stolen from them to put into someone who has gotten on a plane and flown to China for an organ transplant. Like, this can't happen. This simply can't happen. And our corporations and our government. And again, if the goal was to divide America, this has backfired. I have never seen a more divided time in American politics, and I have never seen a more bipartisan issue.
Yeah, so he actually also called on the Biden administration to really stand strong on this issue.
Yeah. So we used to think that the CCP is 10,000 miles away. And I think we have come to learn that in the recent years that they are the root. They're the root of the evil behind a lot of things, including things in this country. So I think it's good that our country, our both parties, people from different different sides, they're coming together, and then we need to basically root out this evil.
Yeah, and even if any of them still give some hope that what kind of benefit they could get from the CCP, history told us they're gonna regret, because the CCP is just not it's just different from any other communists, right?
Yeah. Okay, and then on the coming 20th of July, which is let me just share with you, it's it's the anniversary of a crackdown, the persecution against Falun Gong, a meditation exercise that is based upon the principles of truth, compassion, and tolerance. I'm sorry. On July 20th of 1999, which is 22 years ago, that persecution started, impacted about 100 million people, 100 million Chinese people. And the persecution has been very, very brutal, involved large-scale organ harvesting. That was mentioned just by the panelist. But you have not read enough about that. It's because CCP has been suppressing the news, has been buying off American politicians and the media to avoid this topic. So on the coming July 20th, we'll be bringing you the truth information about that. Yeah, this is another hidden piece, hidden fact. All right, another thing is starting next week, we'll be moving the live show. We'll be moving the live show to another platform, which is called Safe Chat. We'll be we'll give you a heads up now, and we'll also give you a heads up on Friday.
Yeah, actually, some of you probably already been watching Safe Chat. I know that for a fact. And also, on Safe Chat, we have been doing the live streaming since the function is live. So it seems to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the tech team is very determined, and we're deeply touched by their determination to bring freedom of speech. And then over there, it's we won't be worried about being how to say censored, right?
Yeah.
And
actually, talking about that, I wanted to just let you know another thing that concerns the people who were involved in the January 6th Capitol rally. So actually, people, their situation, the people who were arrested, it's not really talked by many media outlets. But I actually had an opportunity to talk to someone who knew about the situation and who's trying to help them. So I'm going to show you just a little bit, a short clip, but the whole interview is actually on Safe Chat and our channel. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's take a look at Z10.
No voice. We need some voice. There's
no voice. No
okay,
audio.
So, yeah, waving to our people in the back room for them to release the voice. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for the voice to come back, so we'll be still releasing videos, videos on the YouTube. So you can stay with us, but we will be reminding you that our live will be over there at the Safe Chat. How to get there? Very simple, just safechat.com. Safechat.com. Over there, then you can just search for Sound of Hope. Or you search Wei and Kathy. Either way, you can find out our channel, and same time. And so we'll be there, and we'll be keep bringing you the latest news and the and our analysis to the news.
Okay, so it seems the video clip does not have audio, but what it is it's the gentleman on the screen was Matt Brainard, the executive director of Look Ahead America. They are holding a rally at the Department of Justice where the people, about 40 to 50 people were detained because of their involvement in the January 6th rally. So what's their situation and why they are holding this rally this Saturday? So it's all explained in the episode that I just posted this afternoon on Safe Chat channel. So yeah, please go on to the Safe Chat channel so that you can find out, because I think it deserves our attention actually.
Yeah, and also please download and install the app. And then the website also works very well. So we verified the functionality works well. All right. So
I know some people have feedbacks too. So, but we welcome the feedbacks. Of course, we need to send the feedbacks to whoever is developing the platform. But overall, it's a free speech platform. Won't censor, won't deplatform, has a lot of functions, and it can do live streaming. I don't think a lot of the new social media platform can do that. So that's why we choose Safe Chat, and we hope a lot of our audience would also use that so that we can continue our show there, to see you there, and communicate there.
Yeah, and we'll be releasing our website, which is soh.news, and then so we'll be enriching our content, providing them enough for you to know and serve the job of honest journalist.
Oh yeah, James, California, asking, is Safe Chat safe?
Yes, the answer is safe. Yeah, everything's encrypted, and then there's no censorship. And so we have checked them out, we've vet them out, vet them enough, and understand what they do. and yeah, they are the freedom defenders. So I wish you would try it out, and also, just get yourself familiar with it.
Yeah, and people.
It's a good tool.
I know some people who involved in this development. They were that formerly lived under communist regime, right? So they totally know the importance and significance of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw a question by Judy actually got a lot of attention. Actually, I think it's a good question. Maybe quickly we can review that. Is Judy was asking what kind of difference it will make if we early on we knew it's from a lab instead of a wet market. So Wei, what's your response?
What's the difference does it make?
Yeah, any different does it make?
Oh yeah, of course it does, right? If it's a wet market, it means from the nature. Human, it's uncontrollable factors. That's how CCP want us to believe that. It's from a wet market, but enough evidence has surfaced that showing that that's nonsense. Okay, so then it comes from the lab. Then it has to do with whether it's how does it come from the lab? Whether they manufacture it, they devise it, they create it, or it's just from some by
accident.
Yeah, by accident. From certain bad that they experiment inside the lab. And then in terms of how they release it, did they release it intentionally or they release it unintentionally? Because, for the WIV over there, a lot of rules are very lax and they don't have enough security measure there. So anyway,
it does make a difference. From my point of view, because then it really makes a difference how people treat it, right? Because for quite a few months, people were arguing about that, and they don't know what to do, whether we are just social distancing or doing what and that. So it really created a chaos, and it delayed people's proper reactions. To this pandemic, which caused so many more people died and a lot of loss in in every front.
Yeah. So Jeffrey wrote it proved this bioweapon, and B. Dobb also said it's a bioweapon. Just think about that. If it is a bioweapon, the whole nature of the matter changed, right? Then it's war. It's literally war. So that's why it's so it's so important to find out the truth. And I don't think CCP will allow anybody to go there to really...
Yeah, and just think about it, why CCP government just had so much reaction on how to name this virus. They gave pressure on the WHO how to name it. Finally, they got a name called COVID. It doesn't really tell anything, right? So why they care so much about how to name the virus. It's a convention that just name it by location. It's an international norm to name that.
Yeah.
But why, right? Why
if it come from the wet market, if it come from the nature, they should say open up their doors. Please come over, check out the truth. It's indeed come from the wet market. They didn't do that. Why, right? That action proved that what is truth. So they got a lot of things to hide, and we know they are to blame. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's the good thing is more and more Americans really see through that. Yeah. So that's maybe the good thing came out from this terrible pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Stay with us. We really wish you would stay with us. It will be on SafeChat, which is a free platform. We're really just one URL away. Okay, we'll also maintain this channel, and but we have to be able to speak our mind. Okay, we cannot just on air and select our word. Defeat the very purpose of truthful journalist. All right, so that's why we chose that. So please also remember save the link. Save the link, come to SafeChat, and install the app. And I already typed it.
It only needs your your email, right? It doesn't even require you a different password or anything.
Yeah, you can just log in with whatever your social media account. You are able to log in, and even without logging, you are able to actually see the show.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate your spending time with us, and I hope you'll stick with us.
Okay.
All right, take
Good
care.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.